Hello, everyone. My name is Tiffany Burge. I'm the Regional Parent Mentor for the Mid-Michigan region and cover the counties of Saginaw, Midland, Isabella, Gratiot, Mecosta, Osceola, Clare, and Gladwin. This journey began for me about 14 years ago when my oldest son was 4 and we started the IEP process. As Nathan grew and changed, so did his IEP and so did I. I continue to learn how to navigate the world of systems, programs, supports, and services of special education. Through this process, I got a degree in social work, spent years working in child welfare, and had 2 younger children who also have IEPs now. I understand feeling overwhelmed by the alphabet soup of acronyms, attending imposing IEP meetings, and the powerful emotions that come with advocating for loved ones. I'm pleased to offer support, education, and information to families. The return to a new school year is one of the hardest times of the year for families, and I want parents to know that Michigan Alliance for Families is here to help.
My name is Leah Groves. I'm a single mom of 2 wonderful and wild little boys. My journey started when my youngest was nearly 2 and had a 1 to 4 word vocabulary. I felt stuck as a mom and not knowing where to turn to. I was introduced to Early On. It was through Early On that my son was evaluated and granted speech therapy and diagnosed with a severe speech delay. Now 6 years later, and he never stopped talking. Though time has passed, it was my experience in special education that led me to this work. I was once the mom who felt hopeless, and I wanted to do my part in bridging the gap between a child's needs and the services available. Today's topic is near to my heart because I truly understand personally and professionally just how daunting it is to begin your child's academic experience without the answers, without the help, and without the confidence. It is truly one of my most favorite parts of my job to arm parents just like you with all the tools you need to create a successful and productive school experience. So today's agenda. Today we will be covering what we've found are the 4 most helpful stepping stones to take as you prepare for school to begin. We will go over key components of the IEP. If you're able to pull up your child's IEP, even if it happens to be from previous years, you may find it helpful to look through it while we guide you through the IEP. We will discuss how to best introduce yourself and your child to the key players in your child's education experience. And we will also discuss who those key players are and how to best navigate and communicating with them.
Parents are a child's first and best advocate and are there for the long haul. Parents who learn good communication skills can be even more effective. It's important to know how to read and comprehend your child's IEP before introducing them to a school or classroom because you are your child's best and first advocate. The definition of an IEP stands for Individualized Education Program. In Michigan, an IEP is a written document for students with disabilities between the ages of 3 and 26 years old who receive special education programs and related services. The purpose of the IEP is to address the unique needs of the student that result from the student's disability, develop attainable annual goals, and document services that the school district will provide to help the student achieve these goals. For more information, you can check out our IEP topics on our website. You can find information about many topics here, links to resources, upcoming events, and helpful videos. Our website is michiganallianceforfamilies.org. As we mentioned, first we will discuss the key components of an IEP, then we'll move on to introductions, key players, and effective communication. If you have your child's IEP available, now would be a good time to get it out.
There's a few parts of the IEP that are key components. When these key components are clear and concise with the ability to be measured, the IEP can be successful. If you are able to get your hands on the previous IEPs, I would recommend combing through that in preparation of the new school year. So that doesn't have to be today, but it can be between now and the start of the school year. If you need help doing so, we can direct you to the parent mentor who covers the district in which you attend. You'll look for the PLAF statement, which is the present level of academic achievement and functional performance, the goals in which the team is reaching for, as well as how the goals will be achieved. Knowing how to locate, read, and understand this section of the IEP will provide confidence when you're sitting at the IEP meeting. We often say, if we took your child's name out of the PLAT statement, would you be able to identify that it's your student? You can be as clear and specific as needed. Goals should be as specific as needed with the capacity to be measured. We are not looking for general statements or hopes. We want to have language that states specific goals and how we will track those goals. The next two spaces of the IEP we will review are supplementary aids and services. Aids being broken down to accommodations and modifications. It's important when we're discussing accommodations and modifications to think about how these aids will be provided, by whom, and who is responsible for tracking the use of these aids. Again, we want it to be concise language. An example could be, for every test greater than 10 questions in any subject, your student is given headphones with pre-approved music or a playlist and a desk barrier to aid in concentration by the classroom teacher. So with that example, we know who is responsible, the steps they're taking, and the guidelines for implementing the aid. When we move to services being provided, it should read similarly. We need to know the frequency, the schedule, and the expectation of what the service provides, the goal it is aimed to meet, and who will track that data. It can be overwhelming to move through. Take your time, ask questions, and don't be afraid to ask for more information. You're part of that IEP team. You know your child best. So we have reviewed the key parts of your student's IEP. Now we will go over some strategies for introducing yourself and your student. We will explain what a student snapshot is and discuss some tips for creating one with your child.
At the open house, I wait for an opportunity when the teacher is not distracted to introduce myself and my child. I ask the teacher what their preferred method of contact is. Usually it's an email or an app that the teacher prefers, and then I provide them my method of contact. First impressions are lasting, and this is someone who will have your child all day, every day for a school year. I want the relationship to start off right with good communication and understanding so that they feel comfortable contacting me with any questions or concerns they may have. Make sure you follow up with the teacher later to remind them of your support, availability, and your preferred method of contact.
Sometimes the best way to get to know the school, the teachers, and other families is by stepping out of your comfort zone just a bit. Perhaps bring a few index cards with your name, contact information, and a brief introduction of your student to give to the staff or even other families. If the open house doesn't provide you with some of those connections, I always found reaching out via social media to local play groups really helpful. My district holds play groups in the summer for kiddos transitioning into kindergarten. I was able to learn teachers' personalities, fellow families, and my son was able to make some friends, making that first day far more comfortable with familiar faces for everyone.
If I didn't get an opportunity to do so at the open house, I try to introduce myself and my child to the teacher on the first morning of school. Teachers are busy learning a lot of students and parents. It's great for them to connect names with faces. I like to provide a student snapshot at this time. Teachers are very busy, especially at the start of the year, learning 30 new students and parents. This can help speed up the process of the teacher getting to know my child faster. When I follow up with the teacher later, I include the snapshot to reinforce important information about my child. Try to keep this list small. As a quick reference, think concise and precise. A few words may be enough to remind someone of your child's needs. These tips are great for any staff that may interact with your child regularly, like a bus driver, parapros, office staff, even lunchroom staff. Try to connect in person and maintain a positive flow of communication and always follow up.
For me, it's that week before school email that puts my nerves at ease. I send a quick snapshot email of my student to transportation, elective teachers, extracurricular coaches, support staff, the school social worker or counselor, and most importantly, the teacher. Then along with the snapshot, I will send the teacher an email with specifics that think she or he may need to be aware of. Household stresses, family dynamics, health concerns, anything within those bounds. This allows the person who spends their days with my child the opportunity to care so much better for my child. Knowledge is power.
When remaining student focused, we want to try to keep emotions and opinions out of the conversation. Be objective, direct, yet collaborative. Always remember to include the students in the IEP process as age appropriate. To ensure teachers and staff know your student well, you could create a student snapshot with your child. Incorporate your child's input into the snapshot. Keep it simple, personal, and prioritize 5 or 6 points in each section. This is the picture you saw on the last slide. You could include likes, dislikes, what works or doesn't, strengths and areas your student is working on. Decide who to distribute the snapshot to and what method of distribution is most effective. We'll have another example of this later in a different slide. If your child is young, listing favorite things or activities that they love is helpful information. As your child gets older, you can have them share what works well for them and what doesn't. Contents of the snapshot will change as your child grows. This process can help your child build capacity for future self-advocacy.
So we've reviewed the key parts of your student's IEP. We've discussed introducing yourself and your student. Next, we're going to talk about learning who those key players are in your child's education experience. We've talked about how to best introduce yourself and your student, but who do we as parents really need to know? Who are the key players in your child's education, specifically their IEP? Required is a general education teacher, a special education teacher, and a district representative. This could be a principal or a special education director. You may also be inclined to invite your student support staff, the school social worker, and any and all therapists your child sees consistently. This could be an OT or PT, a speech pathologist. Knowing who these professionals are, organizing their contact information, and continuing contact with them is a solid way to promote a healthy school year. When you are first introduced to the professionals on your child's IEP team, perhaps asking and then noting their preferred way of contact. If a professional prefers the phone as their method of contact, it is okay to have phone conversations, but always send a follow-up email clarifying and confirming what was talked about. We've reviewed the key parts of an IEP, talked about introducing yourself and your student, learn the key players of your child's education. Now we can talk about some effective communication tips. When we want to communicate in writing, whenever possible and remain student focused to have good collaborative relationships.
When we're talking about communication tips, it's important to remember that we are all on the same team. This graphic shows a triangle of best practices that help us communicate effectively for the best interest of the student. The first of which we will discuss is written communication. Communicating effectively leads to collaborative relationships, while maintaining collaborative working relationships helps everyone's objective remain student focused. These three things all work together. Areas of written communication can include parent and student introductions, areas of concern, preparing for the IEP meeting, and follow-up. Written communication simply means having a documented trail of the conversations you have with school staff and providers. Some things that may spark communication needs are parent and student introductions, areas of concern, preparing before the IEP meeting with team members, and follow-up. This can be in the form of pen and paper, email, screenshots of messages via text, or the teacher's preferred app. This creates what we call a paper trail, which is verifiable proof that communications were said and when. Having written communication nourishes collaborative relationships. Being able to effectively communicate your child's needs is another way for you to help your child develop and learn. Parent and professional communication and effective partnerships do not just happen. It takes time, energy, and effort to build skills to communicate clearly and collaborate effectively. You can decide to become a more effective advocate for your child and then take the necessary steps to achieve this goal. We want open, honest relationships built on respect and appreciation for one another to work together for the best interest of the student. We've all heard the saying, you'll catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. There are times it's easy to forget these things. We are all allies on the same team of the best interest of the student. It's important to value everyone's time, have respect, appreciation, and understanding for one another. We want to have collaborative relationships. Our example of how to stay student focused in all of these efforts is the Jacob Awesome Sauce story. Seeing a graphic or image like this may seem overwhelming, or you may feel pressured to provide teachers a formal snapshot like this. But I'll let you in on a little secret. I've been in the IEP world for 15 years and have 3 children who have or had IEPs. I've been a parent mentor for 5 of those years, and this is the first formal snapshot I have made. This is my youngest son, Jacob. And this is his current year. We're all different, and we all have have the best interest of our children, and we're all the experts of our own children. There's no perfect or wrong way to advocate for your child. There are many ways to effectively communicate the needs of our student. It's okay if it's an index card or a sticky note or a Google document emailed to the teacher. Everyone's different. The way of everyone is going to be different as well. What matters is that you get the point across. These are all ways to remain student focused. The point is to remain focused on those needs of your student in all of the communications to maintain collaborative relationships. You can see in this student snapshot that I used Jacob's strengths, what he loves, what he's working on, his challenges, and what works well for him. And then at the bottom, I have this little other section where I noted his allergic reaction to strong smells and perfumes in the classroom. These are all things that work well for him or don't work well for him. And it'll be really helpful for his teachers and staff to have that at a quick glance.
So today we've covered what we found are the 4 most helpful stepping stones in helping you prepare to go back to school. We went over the key components of the IEP, that PLAF statement, accommodations, modifications. We've discussed how to best introduce yourself, going to that open house, sending those emails, finding out who those professionals are, how to introduce your child. This could be through a snapshot, like you just saw Tiffany share of her son. It can also be, I always do an index card, and sometimes I get fancy and laminate them. You do not have to be fancy. And so this is just a quick way for the professionals to know just a baseline who your child is, what their needs are, what works and what doesn't. We've also talked about who those key players are, what professionals you'll be sitting at the table with when you're talking about IEPs, what professionals you want to be in contact with and have that contact information. This will all of this will help you navigate communicating and staying student focused. So we've given you a lot of information that might seem overwhelming. Know that we are here to answer any questions and to walk beside you while you navigate getting back to school. The action plan you see here will be your best next steps in feeling confident as you enter the school year. You're going to attend that open house, creating connections. You're going to tour the building, learn how your student's classroom is organized. You're going to share your students' information with key players, and you're going to email those key players about a week before school starts. With that, we are ready for your comments, questions, and concerns. Take a moment to scan or look over any notes you may have taken. Remember, we're here to help, and there's no such thing as a silly question. We love the conversation.
So we have a question in the chat, ladies. Thank you so much for your presentation. The first question says, should all my student teachers have already read the IEP when the year starts?
So the question was, should all of the teachers have read my child's IEP when the school year starts?
Yeah.
Yes, they should have. The teachers should all have a copy of that and have read it and know most of the information. We recommend that you do the student snapshot just to help them because they're learning so many students so quickly. All at the same time, the student snapshot just helps them reference short tips about your child. But yes, they should have all received the IEP already and looked that over.
Thank you. The next question is, do you have any tips for productive introductions for high school students? Anything you would do differently at that age level?
I'll let you take this one, Tiffany, as you have had a high schooler
Okay.
before and I have not.
I think it depends on your student, and the older the student gets, the more we recommend that they have input into the student snapshot or how they want to go about that. If your student doesn't want you to make introductions, then certainly you don't want to do that. But if you do have a child that is interested in what their method may be, you could do some form of a student snapshot, maybe email it to teachers, maybe you just send an introductory email that just says who you are and that you are the parent and what kinds of information or communication you might be interested in. But definitely keep your student involved in that process and what they're comfortable with. You don't want to do anything without them knowing. The ultimate goal is self-determination. So we want to include them as much as possible, especially through those older years.
Thank you so much. The next question, oh, I believe okay, yeah. So the next question is it possible for my child to start school without an IEP?
Is it possible for your child what?
Sorry, to start without an IEP.
To start school without an IEP?
Yes.
Yes, you would need to request your child be evaluated for an IEP in writing. You could submit that to the teacher or someone in the office or email it to the principal, but you would want to submit it in writing, and then we contact your regional parent mentor so that we can help you through that process.
Yeah, your parent mentor that covers your district would be more than happy to guide you through that process. We love connecting families with what to do and how to do it next.
Thank you so much. So far, we only have one more question. It is, do you suggest we share disability information with other students?
Again, I think that depends on your child and their age and your personal preferences and theirs, how much they want to share, how much they don't, and then also your school and your IEP team. My oldest son, when he was in elementary, the social worker did a fantastic job of doing that with the students. She would take the child with a disability and help them put together an All About Me book that would explain who they are as a person, much like the student snapshot, things they like to do, what they do outside of school, and then things that students might notice in school, like Nathan wears a weighted vest, and this is why I wear my weighted vest, or he has someone help him carry his lunch tray, and this is the reason for that. And you might see me doing all of these things, but at the end of the day, I'm still just a student like you. I like NASCAR, I like video games, I like playing on the playground. So I think it just depends on your personal situation and who's on your team and what your child prefers.
Yeah, I would say, reminding yourself to stay student focused. How comfortable is your child with their diagnosis? My son has a very good friend who has autism, and he does not want anybody to know that he has autism. He does not want it to be an identifying factor of him whatsoever. But we also have a family friend who has a daughter with autism, and she's loud and proud. I have autism. This is who I am. So really, listen to your child and see how your child reacts to sharing who they are and how they operate.
And I think that can change with age as well. When my Nathan, my oldest son, was young, he very much wanted students to know that he had autism and how that affected him and what they might see and why he might be different. But as he got older, he didn't want people to know as much. My 9-year-old is a transgender from boy to girl, and she does not want students to know her secret yet. We're in the process of revealing that very slowly. So like her clothing styles are slowly changing to neutral to slightly more girl. So it really just depends on your student and your comfortable level, your level of comfort.
The next question is the PLAF a statement? The PLAAFP, is that a statement?
I take that one, Leah?
Sure. So mostly yes, but we want it to be a fulfilled statement. We don't want it to be a brief, not specific statement. We don't want it to say, my child is A, B, and C most of the time, and A, B, and C some of the time. We want the PLAF statement to be specific. We want the PLAF statement to be who our child is, and that is not just mean things that our child is working on. It is things that our child excels in as well. So yes, we call it the PLAF statement. However, it should be a fulfilled statement. It should have meaning, and it should be specific.
I'd like to add to that just because I saw a very unique IEP yesterday. I haven't seen one like this before. I looked at 2 IEPs yesterday, and one repeated the same PLAF statement over and over for every goal. And I thought, well, that's kind of redundant. But the second one I read had a separate PLAF statement for each and every goal. And I thought that was great because they specified where the student was at with each and every goal. So the PLAF statement was different for each goal. So it said, you know, based on this double-digit addition PLAF statement, this is where the student is at, this is what the test scores are, or whatever data they used, and this is the objective, the goal and the objectives. I thought it was very well written, and something I'd like to see more of for sure.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Thank you. Give me just 1 second. We'll give you the next question. Well, I have heard people talk about teaming meetings. What is that?
If I'm hearing this correctly, it's a teaming meeting.
Yes, that's what I'm reading.
Okay, I would assume that they're saying it's an IEP team meeting. That's what I'm getting from it anyway. And this is when you sit down with the parts of the professionals, the parent, those therapists that you may invite to the IEP. And when you sit down and you discuss the needs of your child, the services that are going to be provided, the accommodations, the modifications, that's when you write that PLAF statement. It's really when we say you sit down at the table, this is the moment where you're sitting down at the table with your team and you're having that meeting. So that's what I'm getting from the teaming meeting.
Yesterday, I had a parent ask me what a staffing meeting was, and I'm assuming it's somewhere along the same lines. Sometimes schools will do, it's not a formal IEP team meeting because they don't call all of the members of the team. Like maybe they don't call the OT professional from the ISD, or they don't have the speech therapist there, or whatever maybe that would be an official IEP team meeting. In this particular case, they were getting together like the principal, the teacher, the previous teacher, the parent, and someone else to go over some parts of the IEP. The parent wanted some changes made to the IEP. And so we talked about what an IEP amendment could be. You could have some of those members of the team together as long as the parent is present and all members agree to changing something in the IEP. They can do an amendment. They would then ask the other members who are not there if they're okay with that amendment, and that could go ahead and be done even though it wasn't a formal IEP meeting.
Thank you. The next question is a question and a statement. It says, this was great information, thank you. How often should you check in on progress with the IEP goals with the teacher or the family worker?
So you're welcome. We'd love to do this. Tiffany and I have been very excited to present to you all, and I'm truly honored to do this job and to spread this information. What was the end of the question?
Sorry, how often should they check on progress?
Yeah, so it really depends on when you had that IEP meeting and when you wrote that IEP, what did we discuss that the goals were? Is this a year-long goal that we're just hoping happens before the end of the year? Well, maybe, every 3 months we should really be checking in. Or is this a goal that, we're trying to make significant progress within 3 months? That's something that you might track a little bit closer.
Thank you. Give me just a second to pull up the next question. Sorry, there have been so many. I think this is a follow-up to the, oh, that's just a statement, sorry. It has area of need and progress. I think that was a confirmation of you discussing the class statement. Sorry about that. And then it said, yes, they understand now from what that was saying. The last question says, what do you do if you don't agree with the IEP team recommendation and the school didn't want to make the change you want to see?
You want to take this one, Tiffany?
I'm not sure I heard it correctly.
So the question is, what do you do if you don't agree with the IEP team recommendation?
That's a big question. Call your parent mentor. That's
Yes.
what you do.
Yeah.
Because it really depends. The situation can go any which direction depending on what we're talking about and what recommendation it may be and your student and what's going on. So you really should call your parent mentor and discuss that more in detail. And we can certainly help you.
Yeah, I would absolutely say don't go at it alone. There are services there are parent mentors willing to help you and waiting to help you. But secondly, I would start with that paper trail that we talked about. Start saving the emails that are going back and forth. Start, sending that follow-up email if you're having phone conversations. Really start that paper trail. So once you get with a parent mentor, you can really have everything organized so you're ready to go.
Thank you so much. So far, I believe that is all the questions. In just 1 second. Yes, that was all we had. Those were all the questions I had, Elise. Thank you so much. I've also shared in the chat a link for progress monitoring for those people who had those questions about the progress monitoring. And so if you had any other questions and we missed them, I don't believe we did, but you can always call us at our 1-800 number at 800-552-4821, like you see on the screen now, or go to our website and click on the Contact Us page, and as well as emailing the parent mentor from the website that I shared earlier about finding your parent mentor. We're here to support you, and we hope that you enjoyed this presentation. These are other ways that you can get in contact with us. Michigan Alliance for Families is an IDEA grant-funded initiative of the Michigan Department of Education, Office of Special Education, and Michigan's Federal Parent Training and Information Center, funded by U.S. Department of Education's Office of Special Education Program. Have a great day.